In the desolate woods of Deer Creek Township, Indiana, on February 13, 2017, at 1:30 p.m., two young lives vanished without a trace. 13-year-old Abigail Abby Williams and 14-year-old Liberty Rose Libby German, friends since childhood, stepped onto the Monon High Bridge Trail, their laughter and chatter echoing over Deer Creek. Their last recorded moment of normalcy was captured by a social media post at 2:07 p.m., showing Williams walking across the bridge. Just a few hours later, their presence would end abruptly. The girls were reported missing at 5:30 p.m., and the initial search by their families and local authorities yielded no clues. By the next morning, the grim discovery awaited. Their bodies were found around noon, approximately 0.5 miles east of the abandoned bridge, their lifeless figures on the north bank of Deer Creek. The murders were a shock to the small Indiana town, and the case became a national sensation. Law enforcement was quick to circulate images and audio recordings from Liberty German's smartphone, which captured an individual believed to be the killer. The Bridge Guy, as he was dubbed, was a prime suspect from the outset. Yet the investigation stalled for 5 long years. It was not until September 2022 that a misfiled tip led to the arrest of Richard M. Allen, who was charged with the murders in 2024. Allen was sentenced to 130 years in prison, bringing a conclusion to the case that had haunted the community for far too long. In the desolate woods of Deer Creek Township, Indiana, on February 13, 2017, at 1:30 p.m., two young lives vanished with the quietness of the surrounding forest. Abigail Abby Joyce Williams and Liberty Rose Libby Lynn German, 13 and 14 years old, respectively, had been dropped off by German's older sister, Kelsey, on County Road 300 North, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway. The girls were hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek, a trail known for its scenic beauty and seclusion. Their last known sighting was at 2:07 p.m., when German used her smartphone to post a photo of Williams walking the bridge. The girls were not heard from again. The tranquility of their hike was shattered as they disappeared. Their families searched for them themselves before alerting the police at 5:30 p.m. when authorities began their search. They initially did not suspect foul play. However, the grim reality dawned on everyone on February 14, when the bodies of the girls were found about 0.5 miles east of the abandoned Monon High Bridge on the north bank of Deer Creek. The discovery came as a shock, and the subsequent investigation would span 5 years, uncovering a dark and complex web of events. The investigation was marked by a still image of an individual, dubbed the Bridge Guy, who had been seen on the Monon High Bridge Trail. A grainy photograph from German's smartphone showed a white male, hands in pockets, head down, walking on the rail bridge. The suspect, known as the Bridge Guy, was named the prime suspect in the double homicide. Law enforcement released an audio recording during a press conference on February 22, where the voice of the suspect, muffled but clearly audible, was heard saying, "Down the hill." This audio, along with the photograph, was credited to German's smartphone and was seen as a crucial piece of evidence. The case remained unsolved for nearly 5 years, until Richard M. Allen was arrested and charged with the murders in 2022. In the desolate woods of Deer Creek Township, Indiana, on February 13, 2017, at 1:30 p.m., two young lives vanished with a single drop-off. 13-year-old Abigail Abby Joyce Williams and 14-year-old Liberty Rose Libby Lynn German were dropped off by German's older sister, Kelsey, on County Road 300 North, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway. The girls were hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek, among the woodland of remote Deer Creek Township. At 2:07 p.m., German posted a photo of Williams walking the bridge, the last known sighting of the two. Their disappearance was not immediately noticed, as they were reported missing at 5:30 p.m. when they failed to meet German's father at 3:15 p.m., the families initiated a search, but authorities did not initially suspect foul play. It was only when the bodies of the girls were discovered around noon the following day, about 0.5 miles east of the abandoned Monon High Bridge, that the gravity of their fate became clear. Their bodies were found on the north bank of Deer Creek, bringing the investigation into a grim reality. In the early stages, police did not release specific details of the murders. However, as early as February 15, 2017, Indiana State Police began circulating a still image of an individual reportedly seen on the Monon High Bridge Trail. Dubbed the Bridge Guy, the grainy photograph captured a white male, hands in pockets, head down, walking on the rail bridge towards the girls. A few days later, this person was named the prime suspect. On February 22, law enforcement released an audio recording during which the voice of the suspect, although muffled, is heard saying, "Down the hill." Officials credited the source of the audio and images to German's smartphone, crediting her with having the presence of mind and fortitude to secretly record the exchange. Additional evidence from the phone had been secured, but police would not release further details to avoid compromising any future trial. On July 17, 2019, police distributed a composite sketch of someone sought as a person of prime interest in the murders, based on eyewitness accounts of a hiker on the Delphi historic trails the day the girls vanished. On April 22, 2019, Indiana State Police announced a new direction in the case and released a new sketch of the suspect, urging the public to look at the sketch, listen to the audio, watch how the man walks on the bridge, and send tips to the tip line email. Investigators stated they had reason to believe that the suspect might be hiding in plain sight and was almost certainly familiar with the Delphi area, from living there, working there, or for other reasons. An additional plea was made for help in identifying the driver of a vehicle left abandoned off the Hoosier Heartland Highway in Delphi, at the former Child Services office, between noon and 5 p.m. on the day of the murders. In September 2022, investigators reviewed a misfiled tip after a volunteer file clerk discovered the error. Richard Allen's last name was found to be a match. The case remained unresolved for 5 years until 2022, when Richard M. Allen was arrested and charged with the murders. He was found guilty in 2024 and sentenced to 130 years in prison. The investigation into the Delphi murders began with a sense of urgency, but met with initial confusion. The disappearance of Abigail Williams and Liberty German was first reported at 5:30 p.m. on February 13, 2017, after they failed to meet their father as planned. However, authorities did not immediately suspect foul play. It was not until the following day, around noon, that the girls' bodies were discovered near the Monon High Bridge Trail, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway. Early on, Indiana State Police began circulating a still image of an individual, the Bridge Guy, who was reportedly seen on the bridge. This grainy photograph, taken from German's smartphone, depicted a white male with hands in his pockets, walking towards the girls. The image, though blurry, was enough to prompt law enforcement to name the Bridge Guy as the prime suspect. On February 22, 2017, during a press conference, law enforcement released an audio recording from German's phone. The muffled voice was heard saying, "Down the hill." This audio, along with the still image, provided crucial evidence that suggested the Bridge Guy was not just a witness but likely the perpetrator. German's actions in secretly recording the encounter were hailed as a heroic act that could lead to their rescue, or, in this case, their salvation. Over the next 5 years, the case remained unsolved. In July 2019, Indiana State Police released a composite sketch based on eyewitness accounts from hikers who saw someone in the area on the day of the girls' disappearance. The sketch, along with the audio and still image, was circulated, urging the public to provide any information that might help in the investigation. The case took a significant turn in September 2022 when a misfiled tip was discovered by a volunteer file clerk. This led to the arrest of Richard M. Allen, who was charged with the murders. Allen's last name was only revealed after the misfile was corrected, adding a layer of intrigue to the case. The evidence found on German's phone, including the still image and the audio recording, played a crucial role in the investigation. Despite the breakthrough, investigators noted that there were gaps in the evidence that could not be fully accounted for. The exact nature of the girls' last moments and the circumstances leading to their deaths remained unclear. The case of the Delphi murders remained under intense scrutiny, with both breakthroughs and dead ends. Political pressure and institutional failures were occasionally mentioned in the media, though specific details were not elaborated upon. The case remained a cold one for 5 years, highlighting the challenges faced by law enforcement in solving such complex cases. Theories about the Delphi murders have captivated the public and law enforcement alike. Among the most prominent is the bridge guy theory, which emerged early on. An audio recording and still image from German's smartphone depicted a white male walking towards Williams and German on the Monon High Bridge Trail, providing a clear and unsettling glimpse of the suspect. The audio, muffled but unmistakable, included the chilling phrase, "down the hill," sparking speculation about the killer's intentions. However, despite extensive investigation and the release of multiple sketches, the suspect, known only as the bridge guy, was never identified or charged. Another theory centers around a composite sketch distributed by police in 2019. This sketch was based on eyewitness accounts from a hiker who had passed through the area on the day of the girls' disappearance. The composite suggested a suspect with a distinct physical appearance, yet no concrete identification was made. The theory of a local resident or someone familiar with the area also gained traction. Authorities emphasized that the suspect might be someone who had a connection to Delphi, perhaps an employee or resident who could have had a motive. However, despite numerous tips and a significant reward, no one was ever charged based on this theory. In 2022, a misfiled tip led investigators to Richard M. Allen. Allen was arrested and charged with the murders in 2024. His conviction hinged on evidence from German's phone, which provided critical insights into the killer's movements and intentions. However, the broader theories surrounding the case remain unresolved. The audio and visual evidence, while incriminating, do not conclusively pinpoint a single individual. The motive behind the murders, while suggested, remains a mystery. The case continues to intrigue and haunt the community, leaving many questions unanswered. The case of the Delphi murders, involving the disappearances and subsequent murders of 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German, remains a haunting chapter in the annals of unsolved crimes. 5 years after the girls vanished, on February 13, 2017, their bodies were discovered near the Monon High Bridge Trail in Deer Creek Township, Indiana. The investigation, marked by meticulous searches and the release of sensitive evidence, culminated in significant developments. In 2022, a misfiled tip was reevaluated, leading to the arrest of Richard M. Allen. He was charged with the murders and found guilty in 2024, receiving a 130-year prison sentence. This case, once shrouded in mystery, now has a resolution, though many details remain veiled in the shadows of time. The video and audio recordings from Liberty German's smartphone, which captured the suspect, remain pivotal evidence, yet the identity of the bridge guy remains a point of curiosity. The murders continue to serve as a stark reminder of the ongoing efforts to bring justice and closure to the families and communities affected by this tragedy. The Delphi murders remain a dark chapter in American criminal history, serving as a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of violence. The extensive media coverage and release of evidence from Liberty German's smartphone, including the mysterious bridge guy and the audio recording, have left a lasting impact on law enforcement techniques and public awareness. Yet the case of Abigail Williams and Liberty German still haunts investigators with one critical question: who was the bridge guy? His identity remains unknown, leaving the door open for new leads and further investigation. If this case gripped you, there are dozens more waiting in the criminal archive. Every week, we uncover new stories that history tried to forget. Subscribe now and never miss a case. The truth is out there, and we will find it together.